Hi, I'm Craig Blundell, and I'm delighted to be here at the Gear for Music Studios to show you the incredible Mapex Saturn 5. So before I get into how, what, and why I choose to play this amazing drum set, I'm just going to talk you through the sizes and what I have here in front of me. I'm using Paiste Masters Series cymbals, 14-inch hi-hat, 17-inch dark crash, and a 21-inch medium ride. The snare is an amazing 14x5 Black Widow, which I use a lot in the studio, and I'm also using it live now. It pops beautifully. Toms-wise, it's a 10x7, 12x8, 14x12, and a 16x14 with a 22x18 kick drum. So quite short stack toms, but with this new amazing bearing edge, the tunability is just incredible. So I've been playing the Saturn 5 for over a year now on the Steven Wilson tour, and I've been sent many different sets of the Saturn 5 around the world. One thing that me and my tech found, and certainly I found in the studio, was the incredible tuning that you can get out of this drum set due to the SONIClear bearing edge. Now, I've got a raw shell here. I don't want to baffle you with lots of science, but I'll talk about it very, very briefly of what it is. So on the inside of the shell, it's a 45-degree bearing edge. The top, where the drum head actually sits, is slightly fatter. And on the outside of the shell, it's perfectly rounded. So it sits perfectly with the drum head. So the curvature of the drum head, it sits flatter. The tuning range, for me, is incredible. I've always used coated heads live. I'm looking for a real fat depth of tuning. With the SONIClear bearing edge, the range is massive, so I can use clear heads, really detune them, and I get that fat, amazing sound. Now, the actual toms themselves, they're still 4-ply maple and 2-ply walnut, so you get that lovely warm sound with the attack of the walnut. With the SONIClear edge, it's truly remarkable. At any tone you want, any ply of drum head, they all sound fantastic on this drum set. So while we're on the subject of tuning, I'd like to talk about the SONIClear suspension system that we have on the toms here. Once again, a revelation when it comes to tone and resonance. So you probably see here, if I move the drum, it's not attached to the bottom of the drum. It comes off both the lug boxes. So there's no drilling of the shell. It sits really, really beautifully. And I've found changing heads in the past with the old system can be a little bit fiddly, a little bit tricky. With this, because it's sat on the bottom of the lug box, it's simply you take your tension screws out and you pop your head back on. So it doesn't mess with any of that. For me personally, with the new bearing edge and this mounting system, I can get maximum resonance out of the drum. Even with coated heads, they still sing. A couple of other things which have really struck me as well, and once again, it's for tuning and holding that tuning, is the low contact claws on the bass drum. Now, you can probably see on the screen that they're hollowed out. They're very, very light, so there's less weight. They have a rubber gasket, so it kind of holds the tension rod in place all the time. I never have to change my tuning on my bass drum. And if you're like me, I like to keep my kit looking really, really new. It has a rubber gasket right the way around the claw. So two things, it doesn't slip and it doesn't mark your bass drum hoop. So while we're on the subject of the bass drum, let's look at the memory marked bass drum spur. A bit of a revelation again for setup. Drummers that were quite fickle beasts, and we liked our bass drums to be perfect. You know, I've done so many gigs, I'm sure you guys have, where you set your bass drum and by the end of the gig, it's all over the place. Now, it has a few unique things which will make sure the bass drum stays in the same place. It has a completely round rubber foot, which you can extend and draw out the spikes. It also has memory lines on the feet, so if you extend them, your bass drum will always be horizontal. And the great thing for me, it's mounted to the shell, so if you're putting it back in a case, it's a lot simpler than a massive, massive bracket. And finally, the angle that you want your bass drum at, it's all memory marked as well, so you get the perfect height and the perfect amount of degree every single time you choose to set the bass drum up. So we've looked at the bass drum, and we've looked at how the rack toms are mounted. Let's look at the floor toms and the new SONIClear floor tom leg. Firstly, the brackets are mounted to the shell, so a slightly smaller footprint, so you can get it into your case with ease. And secondly, it has a one-piece assembly leg. At the bottom of the leg, there is a rubber foot, and it's hollowed out. So if you want like huge resonance, because of its such low contact point, you can achieve it with absolute ease. With the Mapex Saturn 5, you also get two new SONIClear tom clamps. Now, what's dramatically different from the other clamps that Mapex produced in the past, it's a one-piece assembly. It's a lot lighter, so you can look in the middle here, and it's all hollowed out for maximum drum resonance. And there's some really cool markings on the side, so whatever diameter of tube, you can set your markings, literally turn up, clamp it on your hardware, and you're good to go. So I've been playing the Saturn 5 on the Stephen Wilson tour and quite a few recordings at home in different studios for over a year now. And I've learned a few things. Firstly, with what engineers, they love the aggressiveness of the kit. Yes, it's warm, but it really just pops out the mix. The floor toms, sonically, like 8 right the way through to 16, just pop out the mix beautifully, irrespective of what heads I've been using. My tech loves it because, once again, back to the bass drum spurt, it's very, very easy to set up. And every time out the box, go to the memory markings, it's in the same place absolutely every time. Tuning-wise, I found the depth of tuning is slightly greater. If I want a slightly fatter low-end tone, it will take a really detuned two-ply head and make it sound absolutely fat. On the flip side as well, if I want to crank up my rack toms a little bit, especially 8, 10, 12, I can tune a single-ply head tight, really tight, and it will still sing. You still have that resonance because it's not hitting, the edge is not on the drum head, it's on the flat part of the drum head. So I get maximum tone every single time. I like my drums to stay in tune. They stay in tune. The bass drum never slips a note. And I've always got this beautiful fat tone. I'm using on tour 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, just like this, but without the 8 and a slightly deeper bass drum. And it's just beautiful. You sit on the kit and it just comes to life. The notes you can hear in your head, finally, you can get that beautiful tone that I've always wanted for a drum kit. Those bearing edges are very, very special. And yeah, it goes with me everywhere. I absolutely love it to pieces. So that's it. A few new and really amazing features of the Saturn 5. Don't just take my word for it. Obviously, I'm biased. I play it day in, day out, and I'm absolutely in love with this drum set. If you want to find out more about it, then please check out the Gear for Music website, and I hope to see you next time.